All right, today we're jumping into a legal battle out of Idaho that is, honestly, it's more like a high-stakes chess match than a court case. We've got a homeowner representing himself going up against a massive corporate legal machine. And trust me, the way this plays out could really change the entire game for foreclosure cases down the line.
So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Does this make sense? Can you actually lose your home? I mean, get physically kicked out while you're still in the middle of fighting the case in a higher court? It sounds like a total paradox, right? But that is the exact kind of mind-bending question that sits at the very heart of this entire legal showdown.
So let's meet our players. On one side, you've got Jeremy Bass. He's a homeowner, he's fighting for his property, and, get this, he's acting as his own attorney. And on the other side, well, you've got the full weight of a corporation, complete with its team of seasoned lawyers. This whole thing, it goes way beyond a simple property dispute. It's really a masterclass in legal strategy and, procedural warfare. Okay, so to really get what's happening here, we have to start with the corporation's strategy. Let's call it the corporate playbook. And it all kicks off with one heck of an opening move. At the very center of their strategy is this tactic that legal nerds call the dispossess-and-dismiss gambit. And it is a brutally effective two-step process. Think about it. Step 1. You use an order from a lower court to physically take possession of the house. Step 2, you immediately run to the higher court, the appeals court, and you argue, hey, we have the house now, so there's nothing left to fight about. You essentially declare the appeal moot, which is just legal speak for pointless or irrelevant. And if the court buys it, game over. The case is dismissed. And wow, just look at this timeline. It shows you just how fast this whole thing unfolds. So on February 14th, the court issues what's called a writ of restitution. That's the official piece of paper that says, go get the property. A little over a month later, the sheriff shows up and does exactly that. And then, and this is the critical part, in just 7 days, that's it, 1 week, the corporation's lawyer files that motion to dismiss the appeal. It's this rapid, super calculated sequence that's literally designed to short-circuit the whole justice system. Now, you might be wondering what legal experts think about this. Well, it's pretty fascinating. Professor Maria Ramirez, she calls it procedural engineering at its most consequential. And what does that mean? It means this isn't just about following the law. Oh no, it's about strategically using the rules and procedures of the legal system to get the result you want. Basically, to win the game before your opponent even gets a chance to make their case on appeal.
And, the logic they're using here is, well, it's devastatingly simple. Their whole original case was about one thing, and one thing only: get possession of the property. So the moment the sheriff hands over the keys, mission accomplished, right? From their point of view, the legal conclusion is simple: the appeal is moot. They're basically telling the court, look, the main conflict is over, we won. There's nothing for you to decide anymore.
But, and this is where the story gets really good, just when it looks like it's checkmate, things take a remarkable turn. Now we get to the homeowner's counterattack. And let me tell you, it was a defense that nobody saw coming. So picture this. How does a regular person, acting as their own lawyer, respond to a legal maneuver designed to completely shut down their case? With this: 5. Not one response, but 5 separate, incredibly detailed, and deeply researched legal filings. This was absolutely not the quick and easy win the corporate playbook was counting on. Not even close. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's incredible. The corporation's motion to dismiss, it was a tidy 6 pages, and it cited just one lower court opinion, which isn't even binding on the Supreme Court. The homeowner's response? Over 40 pages, citing more than 50 Idaho Supreme Court decisions, the very court that would be making the call. You couldn't have a starker contrast. One side is saying it's simple, we have the house. The other is building this intricate case, showing all these different reasons why the court absolutely still has the power to hear the case. So what was actually in those 40-plus pages? Well, Bass laid out this brilliant, multi-layered defense. First off, he argued that this was never just about who has the keys to the house. It's about a whopping $305,000 in lost home equity. That's a financial claim, and it is very much alive. Second, he brought up established legal exceptions, saying that sometimes, even if a case seems moot, it should be heard anyway, because it's important to the public. Third, and this is a big one, he questioned whether the lower court even had the authority to order the seizure in the first place, since the case was already being appealed. And finally, he basically called them out, citing precedents that say you can't just strategically manipulate things to make your own case moot.
And it wasn't just the quantity of the response, it was the quality that really got people's attention. Professor Elizabeth Chen from the University of Idaho College of Law, she called it extraordinary. She pointed out that Bass created, and I love this phrase, multiple independent pathways for the court to keep the case going. See, this wasn't just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. He was giving the Supreme Court several different, solid, legally sound reasons they could use to say, nope, this case isn't over. And all of this brings us to a really important point. This whole thing, it quickly became about so much more than just a single house. So let's take a step back and ask, what is really at stake here? Well, for starters, let's talk about this number, $305,000. That's the estimated amount of home equity that Bass says was just wiped out in the foreclosure sale. And that figure, it's absolutely critical because it completely transforms the case from just a simple fight over a property into a massive financial dispute. We're talking about a life-altering amount of money. And Bass's whole point is, you can't just make a financial claim of that size vanish by grabbing the physical house. But if you dig a little deeper, just beneath the surface, there are even bigger questions at play here. We're talking about constitutional stuff, like due process. Does a strategy like this deny someone their fundamental right to actually be heard in court? And what about unconscionable forfeiture? That's basically a legal way of asking, is it fundamentally fair when there's this huge gap between what a house is worth and what it was sold for? These aren't just technicalities. They're huge questions about the fairness of the whole system. So all of this really forces you to take a step back and wonder, is this really just a simple property dispute between two parties? Or has this single case turned into a major test of some of the justice system's most basic core principles? And that really brings us to our final takeaway here, a system on trial. Because the decision the Idaho Supreme Court has to make, it really puts them at a major crossroads for the law in their state. And whichever way they go, the implications for the future are going to be huge. You know, when you boil it all down, this case really highlights a fundamental tension that exists in our legal system. It's a constant tug-of-war. On one side, you've got procedural efficiency, the idea that we need to resolve cases quickly and not get bogged down. On the other, you have substantive justice, the idea that the outcome has to actually be fair. The whole dispossess-and-dismiss strategy, that's all about efficiency. And Bass's defense, it's a powerful argument that you just can't sacrifice justice for the sake of speed. And here's the real-world impact. As housing policy analyst Teresa Valdez puts it, allowing this kind of strategy effectively creates a two-tiered justice system. Think about it. If you're a homeowner and you have enough money to post a huge bond, you can stop the seizure and you get to have your full appeal heard. But if you don't have that kind of money, your right to appeal can be snuffed out before you even get your day in court. It basically turns what should be a universal right into a privilege only for the financially secure. And that really leaves us with one last powerful question to think about. When it comes to the high-stakes world of foreclosure, is the right to an appeal a genuine promise that our system makes to every single person? Or is it slowly becoming a privilege, one reserved only for the few who can actually afford to pay for it? The court's answer here is going to echo far, far beyond the walls of this one particular house.